Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.
Alright, what's up? Dropped Out Dev here, coming at you with another threat assessment update for May 15th. We have it's been 10 days since we've come around with one of these. We did last time we talked about a few things. We added a few things to this, and we talked about some issues around Donald J. Trump, presidential action, talking about this kind of soft martial law, or this like legal martial law that they want to go into without saying the words martial law. So in case you're curious about that topic, you can go watch that one from 10 days ago. Pardon me. Oh, thirsty. But today we're going to talk about just some basic updates. We're kind of in a holding pattern on some of this stuff. Not, a lot's been going on as always, but things that impact this threat analysis have, they've been like just kind of churning for a little bit. So we're going to kind of retouch on some of these things and talk about some of these things that I think are churning and I think that are going to come up here in the relative short term. So basically, where we are now, we're at the top of this orange column that I said. Basically, the threat level is very elevated, very high. The Trump administration told us exactly what they want to do over the, 10 years ago, in 2015, he came down that elevator, said he wanted to run for president. He started saying the stuff he wanted to do and surrounded himself with people to do it and people that are smarter than him and, aligned himself with forces to do these things. Continually elevating the threat level until we reach who knows what kind of end goal just gonna keep going. So I think on stream I want to do some thought experiments on what that might look like. That's going to be kind of a put your tinfoil hat on time and just go hog wild with whatever you think is going to happen. We'll talk about it and we'll assess it as in an interesting way, similar to how we did the thought experiment the other day. It was pretty much, it seemed to work. So anyways, what are we even talking about here? We are talking about a few issues coming up that would raise the threat level from where we are now to this next heightened step to make the pot of water hotter and to boil the proverbial frog, which is the American people. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. If you're not in this billionaire class, or if you're not in the enforcement wing of it, you're going to be getting boiled right along with people you disagree with. So, one way or another, you're going to see this stuff happen. Now, let's assess this real quick, this statement that I just made. Is it possible that we just churn along here and somehow federal judges kind of can hold this at bay and it just stays at the stalemate until the midterm elections, and somehow that's going to go good, and then Trump will be impeached, and then we'll all be out of this mess? Even if that were to happen, that's our best case right now. Even if that were to happen, then control goes to the vice president, who is a giant creepy dude. Like, let's say that he gets ousted too. Then it goes to Mike Johnson, who is just an evil bastard too. So there is no off ramp to this. We are flexing our muscles by getting out there and protesting. That is our call to actions right now. That is getting you going. That is getting you moving. That is getting you on your feet, getting you mad. You're getting out there. You're saying, I won't give up. That's good. That's very important to be doing right now. What we're doing right now is we're analyzing the threat to our communities so that we can understand, what we're even seeing, how to react to it, how to plan, all these different reasons. This is our defensive action. So we're doing this. So since we last talked, we talked about this soft martial law that was presidential action. We're expecting some movement on that, looks like I got maybe 2.5 months left on that one. So we expect by the end of June to have seen some changes with that go into effect, with some connection with law enforcement and military resources. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we're watching for that. Okay, so that was on our last threat analysis. So in the meantime, we've had some kind of things come up that we put on. Since that time, we've had arrests of the mayor. We've had the arrest of the judges. We've had threats to arrest Congress members, and we've had this floating of the idea of suspending habeas corpus by Stephen Miller. So what is habeas corpus? Habeas corpus is the right to, a trial by a judge, to air your side of the story, to be able to process you fairly. And so he's saying kind of, oh yeah, we're considering, we're considering maybe suspending. Wait a second. Haven't they already done some extrajudicial deportations? Isn't that a suspension of habeas corpus? So I would already tick that box. We have seen that. They have crossed that Rubicon. It's been done. Even though he says, we're considering it. That's like, they're saying one thing, but then they had already done that. I've seen that a couple times with things that there's they go after the fact and talk about it, or after the fact and try to tip their foot into justifying it. And it's kind of seems that is a recurring thing. I remember these guys are like, this Miller guy, he's like a master manipulator, seems to study some of the worst of the worst out there and follow their playbook. So I would almost tick that box already. They're playing around with it. They're testing that. They're grabbing college students, and if they said the wrong thing, they're deporting them or processing them without their due process, without being able to go in front of a judge and say, Judge, all I did was speak out against something. I was using my constitutional right to free speech. And at that point, that judge should be able to say, okay, well, that seems like this is not a case that should be continued to go any further, so we'll throw that out and you go on your merry way. So that's what should happen. So that did not happen. So it almost seems like, although we're not talking widespread in these trial cases around, they're going around trying it out over, is it going to work over here? Is it going to work over here? Are people going to, really get fired up about it? No, not so far. But if then we say, "Oh, we're thinking about it over here," and people are like, "What? They're thinking about it?" Well, they've already done it. So, I think. Anyways, not without going too far into that, we're seeing isolated cases of that. So we are already hitting a red thing here that I feel like, in the threat assessment previously, we don't jump as soon as there's these isolated cases because they're trying things out. It may take a long time, in which case it's not really helpful to go, jumping the gun and bouncing around between these different levels. We're saying that, okay, we're seeing indicators that we are going to be here sooner than we think. And then there's been threats to members of Congress and threats to governors. Now, if we haven't had a mayor that was doing some civil disobedience, or maybe not, it's not really clear to me that he did anything wrong, but he was arrested, very ceremoniously, very performatively, marched around and everything like that, for being at a protest or being there. And that's his job. His job is to observe things going on in his community so that he can do his job, which is to help lead the people of his town. Help, if there's something going on that he should be aware of, him being there is totally justifiable. So, anyways, do I think anything's going to come out of that? Not really. It was to show, hey, we can do this. We're going to try to do. We're going to do this. We can do this to him. We can do this to anybody. Those are the kind of things your brain naturally thinks, and they want your brain to make those connections so that you'll be silent. And so we are seeing very close to what I would put in this red category. It would be like if a governor is arrested, if a Congress member is arrested. You cannot arrest a Congress member. They have special rights as far as doing their job. You cannot arrest them for being at a protest and observing what's going on. If they do something outside of their purview, and this is something, outside of their normal duties, then yes, they can follow the laws or whatever and be arrested or whatever. But for stuff like this, for speech, they cannot be arrested. Period. If that happens, in my mind, we're at code red in a general sense. Could we go down and come back from that and say, okay, it was performative. Let's say a Congress member was arrested. It was performative, and they get released, and they just get called in front of a judge, and then it gets dismissed. Like it was like with the mayor, they put him on trespassing charges or something like that. And that could be, maybe we go to red for, we're like, okay, if something's going on, we're going to be laser focused on this till, it gets resolved. Let's say it gets resolved, and you go back down, and nothing happens for a while. Yeah, I can see that happening, but it's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. We are talking about, you would appeal to, foreign countries for aid at that point. You are in the shit. We are so close to this point that I expect it to be something that we potentially see. We need to be ready for this low level code red. And, we're planning, we're talking about this stuff. We are mentally preparing ourselves, so we're doing something. We've got some plans in place. If this were to happen, we're going to basically stay where we are and try to help our community reduce any harm that we can. And then realize that this is regional too. Especially the way that things are being tested right now. Is there going to be some kind of like shock and awe moment that's like wider spread? That's, potentially we'll throw that on the what I want to do with like the what could happen stream that we'll try and get up tomorrow maybe. I don't know. So anyways, what have we done so far? We've talked about a couple of these issues that have come up since our last threat assessment as things that we're watching to see, are we putting one toe into, this next phase, this next escalation phase, which is more threatening to people. So we pretty much, since these few things have been floated, kind of end of last week, I haven't seen a ton. I think there's been a lot of hearings going on, budget hearings, and I think a lot of the focus is on stuff that's going on in politics. Potentially this plane being a threat, possibly. I think there's an angle there where we would have said it's plausible that like this is like a Trojan horse, depending on how we assess where it's from and the intentions of that group. It's very interesting. I haven't heard a lot of Netanyahu's take on it, as I don't know how he would see that Qatari influence over the Trump administration potentially. And then we've had some international stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia and Trump. It's all kind of more of the same. Generally not a lot of like actionable stuff there. So yeah, I haven't really dove too much of that. And then of course I would just like to mention, like, as we advocate for brain breaks and everything, when it's like this, when there's like a lot of churn, not a lot of movement, sometimes I'll just like disconnect from it a little bit. So I've been doing a little bit of that this week. I hope you have done some of that too. I know it's harder and harder as things get warmer and warmer, and we don't know what to look at and what to ignore. So be choosy with what you look at. Be choosy. If the people talking on your newsfeed aren't really like the people you really want to look at, but they're saying, I don't know. I mean, just like be choosy. If it's not really a topic you feel like you need to jump on right away, shelve it. Just shelve it for tomorrow. Please be kind to yourself and your mental health. And realize we're gonna go through some stuff. I think we're gonna go through some shit here in the short term. So yeah, one way or another, remember that the storm is howling. We're going forward till the end. Goodbye.